All right, I see we're jumping just shy of 100, so let's get the party started. Thank you everyone for joining us today. To everyone that has joined, we will be sending a recording, so once again, apologies for my voice. I'm a little bit under the weather, so I will talk a little bit less today. I want to introduce our speakers for today, Ilan Avner, which is our product director, and Alex Agranov, I hope I'm saying the family name correct, which is our AI expert. They will be leading the webinar and will be sharing the agenda shortly. Everyone who stays and joins till the end of the webinar, as promised, will receive a $30 credit code for the holidays. We'll be sharing the code at the end of the webinar. So we will go over the agenda shortly and we'll just dive in. And once again, thank you for joining us today. Ilan, kindly take it away, because I don't have voice.
Hi. Yeah, thank you, Tomer. Okay, so my name is Ilan Avner. I'm the product director for Live Hub and Voice AI Connect with AudioCodes. And Alex is the leading system engineer for AI agents and lots of other things also with AudioCodes. And then I want to continue with the agenda.
Go ahead.
This webinar is about introducing some highlights of the features we introduced in the last 2 months. We constantly enhancing our capabilities around multiple things, and here is this is to show you what we have done, and also go through the technical details that you will understand better how to use this. So the first thing I'm going to show is new speech and LLM models that we just added. Then I will turn to Alex. He will show the AI agent flows and also the test tools. And then Alex will also show afterwards the live agent assist, real-time latency stats. Then we'll have time for Q&A. So let's start with the new speech-to-text and text-to-speech providers. So this is the list of providers we support. So on the left-hand side here what you see is the speech-to-text providers. You can see that we use Google. We already support Google, and the new thing that came a few weeks ago was using also Chirp with Google. STT, we support Microsoft. We added Deepgram. All the things with green are the new ones that we added. So Deepgram we added a long time ago, but what we did lately is it's part of the speech providers that are natively supported by Live Hub. You don't have to bring your own key. You can still bring your own key if you want, but you don't have to because it's natively supported on Live Hub. And we also added support for Flux. Currently, it's only English, and with the promise of much better return detection and handling background noise much better. So this is from Deepgram. The 11 Labs, by the way, is on the work and is on the roadmap probably for early next year. It will come. The bring your own key option, we have OpenAI, and coming is Gemini. And about Gemini, we already there is a way to expose to use Gemini already today. It's advanced and it will be on the web UI by early next year. By the way, you can also bring your own engine. We have public APIs for that. So if you want to bring your own speech to text, that's possible as well. We can just contact us and we'll send you the APIs that you need to develop. About the text to speech, also here you can see the ones that are natively supported. Then we added lately to the ones that we natively support, Deepgram and 11 Labs. By the way, you can still bring your own key. And with the bring your own key, you can use OpenAI, and on the roadmap, Gemini and Cartesia are coming. And also here, you can bring your own engine. Now about the LLMs. So also here, you can see the list of LLMs we support, and colored in green are the ones that are new. So for OpenAI, you can see here the list, and we added new ones, and we support both text models and also speech-to-speech models. And some of the models you see here are speech-to-speech. For instance, Gemini 2.5 Flash Native Audio is such a one, and GPT Real-Time and Real-Time Mini are also the same, are also speech-to-speech. So you can choose which which LLM you want to use. With the Bring Your Own Key, we added lately Amazon with all the models that you see here from Amazon. So that's about the new models that we added, the new speech to text to speech. You have you can see here that you have a lot of variety, and you can choose the model that suits your needs. I will now turn to Alex, and he will introduce the AI agent flows and the test tools. Alex.
Yeah, I will also add before we proceed that Gemini is already live in the advanced option with Live Hub. And if you guys have questions on how to implement it, just ask us in the chat and we'll show it. Alex,
you mean
take
the
it away.
Speech to text? You mean
Yes.
The speech to text and text to speech? Yeah. So
yes.
That's yeah. Okay.
Alex, thank you, Ilan, for that. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Anyway, so you've had quite a lot of functionality already, right? You could create different agents, and you could create multi-agent topologies, right? Something like that one, for example. And let me just switch to the canvas here to visualize that. So, right, you could have like multiple agents working on the same task and collaborating on a single conversation and passing the call in between through tools. And that was all great, and it's still available, and lots of customers are using that. But we're adding now something new, right? Now that new thing is called flows, and you can find it over here. And I will create a sample flow so that we can talk about something more practical. So, okay, so that is the flow. And when you edit it, you will see a state machine like that, right? Now, the flows essentially are well-defined state machines with transitions in between states that are still leveraging the LLMs, but they're doing that in a fine-grained manner, right? So we are using, for example, LLM to handle conversation within the specific node. And that's a small prompt that is being sent, and LLM is handling the conversation, and therefore the conversation feels natural and fluid. We are also using the LLM to evaluate transitions, like, for example, in that node. Okay, so take a look at over here. So there's a transition which says, if user confirms that TV is powered on, but there's still no picture, then transition to that node. And there's another transition, again, defined in text, and then you transition to a different node. So that magic is also done by the LLM. So you're still leveraging the LLM for native conversation capabilities and for essentially intent detection. However, you have a full control over the state and the flow of the call, right? So in that example, this is the quick start that demonstrates some troubleshooting scenario. User is calling and reporting a problem with his TV set, and that agent performs some basic troubleshooting. So it can handle the problems with the picture, it can handle some problems with the sound, and for everything else, it's just handing off to the human technician, right?
Alex, I have a question for you before maybe you deep dive into this. Can you just explain in general when would I choose flow versus a regular AI agent? What would be the reason to do that?
Of course. So, and that's super important. I just wanted to roughly give an idea of what the flow is. But yeah, Ilan, you're completely right. So, so there are agents. Agents are essentially prompts or several prompts that can collaborate, but the conversation is driven by the prompt, right? So the conversation is driven by the LLM you don't have well-defined sequence. You may try to create a prompt that creates a well-defined sequence, and that's possible, and quite a few of the customers are doing that. But still, in essence, the LLM is driving the conversation, so you are a little bit depending on the LLM's, graces, right? If for whatever reason it hallucinates, the conversation may slightly deviate from the scenario that you defined in your prompt. Okay, so those are the regular agents. Now, if you need a very strict, well-defined state machine, then the flows give you exactly that. So flows contrary to in the flows contrary to the agent, the flow of the conversation is fully defined by you. And so you know that, for example, you start with saying something or asking the user something, and then you can move either to saying or asking user this, or to saying or asking user this, or this thing, but not anywhere else, right? So the conversation can't all of a sudden go out of the defined path and, start talking with user about something that you didn't expect the agent to talk about, okay? So the major reason for using flows are use cases where the state machine of the conversation is well defined, and there are quite a few scenarios where this is the case, right? In many cases, and it's true that in certain sense, you are losing the kind of fluent conversation capabilities that the prompt can give you. But on the other hand, you are gaining the full control over the conversation, right? So you know exactly how the conversation flows. Whatever you designed will happen. Whatever you didn't design won't happen. Okay.
Alex,
now,
is there like a simple template to create a flow, or do we need to start it from scratch?
So no, of course, there are quick starts similar to the agents. We have a few quick starts in the quick start button over here. So there are 3 quick starts right now for the flows, and you can explore them if you want. I will create one more just for further explanation. But yeah, you can create quick start same way that you create the multi-agent setups or just sample agent setups on the agent screen. Okay, now what is in the conversations, or what conversation consists of, or in other words, what types of nodes there are? So there are conversation nodes which converse with user. So they say something to user and typically process some response from user, although that is optional. So you may have a node that just says something and then you proceed to the next node. There is a node which calls the tools. So contrary to the agents where LLM is deciding of when to call the tool, here in the flows, you are placing the tools at certain points in your state machine, okay? And again, that gives you full control of what is happening, and that kind of protects you from the hallucinations if you're afraid of that kind of stuff. And probably it will be a good idea to take a look at that quick start, which is a simple flow, which is equivalent of the weather agent, right? So I'm not sure that in practice you would create a weather agent that way, but if you would want to do that, then that's what the flow would look like. So you have a conversation node that asks user about the city, right? And then you are calling the get weather, the get weather tool or current weather tool. And then if the tool is successful, you're transitioning to this node where you're saying to user the results that were received from the tool. Otherwise, you're passing to that node that apologizes for not being able to properly check the weather, right? And also you can see there can be global nodes, right? So that node with the green mark over there, it's a global node, so it has a global condition, and whenever, regardless of where you are in the conversation flow, if the condition is met, then the state will transfer to the global node, and you would typically create global nodes for kind of abnormal flows in your conversation, like user wants to end the call, like in that example, or user is angry, right? And then you just again want to just grab the call from wherever it was and transfer it to human agent or anything of that kind, right? Now, so as you've seen, so the flows themselves, and that's important and very powerful thing. When you, for example, write the conversation flow nodes, you use plain English, right? You don't need to think as a software engineer. You just write whatever you expect that thing to be in plain English, and in the same plain English, you're explaining when to transition to the next node, right? So we will transition from that node when user specifies the CT name. As long as if that doesn't happen, that node will keep running and asking user for the CT that he wants to know the weather for, right? So it's all in plain English. You can do it in a more complicated way, and I'll go into that shortly. But in most cases, plain English is more than enough, and it's also relatively simple to take scripts defined by the customers and their requirements and translate them into those nodes. You pretty much copy paste from one place to another, and I can get a running flow rather fast, and it will be pretty consistent. Okay. Now, every node has properties that you can configure. So, for example, conversation node can skip response, or it can extract variables, right? And if we will add the extract variable capability, then we can define some variable, right? So, for example, that can be CT, and the description is the name of the CT. And so when the node decides to transition to the next node, it will evaluate what happened during the conversation. It will fill the CT variable with the proper value. Okay, now in that case, in our case, we don't really need that, because whenever we are specifying the tool and are not strictly specifying variables to be used as tool parameters, then again, we will just use LLM to fill the parameters based on the conversation. So extract variables is an option. If you want to work through the variables, you can do that, and then you can branch based on variables using the logical condition node. But that's an option. Like, that's an optional capability that you can use if you prefer to work that way. And if you don't, then you can just stick with plain English and essentially work like you would work with regular prompts. Okay. Now let me switch back to the tech support agent. So, for example, here in the tech support agent, you see in the first node, we are conversing with user and trying to understand what problem he is experiencing, and then we are filling the problem variable, which can be one of those 4 options based on user response. And then we branch based on the variable value. And there's quite a flexible syntax over here. What you see here are just simple examples. The syntax can be much more complicated than that. But essentially, you can branch based on variables and kind of well-defined logic, or you can branch using those transitions at the bottom of the node, and the transitions would be defined as in the plain English or whatever language you prefer. It doesn't have to be English, but they will be essentially evaluated by the LLM, and based on the LLM evaluation, you will transition to the next node. Okay. Now, other nodes which exist and are useful are, of course, end call. So that node ends the call, and you can have multiple end call nodes in your flow if you prefer. The end call node can have an optional termination message, or like in that case, you may have a conversation node right in front of it that has a skip response. So it's just saying something and then immediately transferring to the end call node without waiting for user response. You also have a transfer call, which is used for transferring the call to human agent, and you can configure the phone number, which may be either the number or can be the variable, like in this case, right? Here's the variable phone. And you can have quite a few other configuration parameters. Or you can pass the call to AI agent. So the call can start with the flow, and then at some point, in essentially similar way to how you can pass the call to human agent, you can pass the call to the AI agent. All right. And let me just show you briefly how it works. So if you chat with the flow, then the canvas is positioned on the current node. Okay, right? So what seems to be the problem? I don't hear anything. Right? So those events happened. We transition to that node. We see it on the canvas. We see the transition that happened, and we see the response, and we can proceed that way. And so that way you can easily debug your flow or analyze what's happening with your flow in a rather visual way. Okay, so that's flows in a gist. Again, it's really important to understand where to use flows and where to use agents. You would be using flows where you have a well-defined state machine and you want the conversation to follow it precisely. And you will be using agents where you want to leverage the LLM prompts capability to handle the conversation in a more open way, or your state machine is just too complicated to draw, so you are relying on the prompts capability to deduce the state machine essentially dynamically based on the actual conversation. Okay, so that's roughly the differentiation.
This is super cool. I can't say that I would personally use flows. I would much rather just open an AI agent and work with that, but super, super cool, Alex. This is like also super complex.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit complex, but again, it's two sides of the same coin, right? So it's complex. It's complex by design, right? It's a feature, not a bug, like we say in R&D. So it's for the use cases where you want that complexity, right? And there are drawbacks and benefits that come from that complexity, but in some use cases, flows are really useful and perform better than open prompts.
Yeah, if I would like to have like extensive control of what I'm doing and what the agent actually says, it sounds like a perfect scenario. Again, a little bit more complex to build. Thank you. There are some questions that I've collected, but they're more connected to the general LLM models. And I think some in translation, we'll get to them. I'm going to go aside again. Go ahead, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, great. Wonderful. Okay, so that was one thing that I wanted to show. The other thing, which again is relatively new in the platform, is something which is called test suites, right? So imagine that you've built your agent. Let's talk about the usual example that we use. Let me just remove that Hogwarts that I've added. The weather forecast agent, right? The regular agent that we usually demonstrate that just answers you what is the current weather, right? Okay, so now you've built it, you've created it, it works rather fine, but then you start iterating on it, right? And that can be that agent or any other agent. So you would typically roll out the agent or set of agents, and then you will start getting feedback from users about it's not exactly performing in that scenario, or it's doing something wrong in this scenario. And so you will start modifying your prompt and iterating on it, right? So first of all, as you probably know, I'm not sure that you remember that, but let's say I will speak in English and Spanish. Okay, let me change the prompt. Now, over here, you have a history of all the modifications that happen to the prompts. So for example, if I compare my current prompt to that entry in the history, so that is the change, and I can go back, right? So whenever I'm iterating, I always have a history of everything that was before, and I can easily roll back to the previous version if I want, right? So that's nice. But besides that, we probably need some mechanism for testing the performance of our agents, and maybe checking that their performance doesn't degrade over time, and that the fixes that we're deploying are actually improving their performance and not doing the opposite way. So test suites are exactly for that. So test suites is a relatively straightforward idea of, let's take LLM, let's program it to behave as a user who is talking with the agent, and then let's again leverage the LLM to evaluate the result of that conversation, right? And so when you create the test suites, and I've just created a simple one over here, so you select the agent that you want to test, and then you add one or more tests to it. And test is essentially a prompt that defines the user behavior. So that's, in that case, that is the behavior of someone pretending to be a user that we will talk with the agent that we're testing. And the success criteria is the criteria based on which we will decide whether the call is successful or not, right? So in that example, we will be asking about the weather in 2 cities. And we want to ask one city at a time, right? Not just ask a single sentence. So to make the agent's life a little bit harder. And the success criteria is that we've got the weather back and that it's relatively sane, right? We're not supposed to get minus 20 right now, neither in Amsterdam nor in New York. Okay, so that's one test. Another test is a very similar, it's a similar one, but instead of putting the prompts, we're just putting fixed phrases, right? So there's a type over here, is the free conversation of fixed phrases. And so fixed phrases are for the use cases where, like, you've got some scenario from your customer where the bot didn't perform as it was expected. And so you're just typing it in all the user utterances that happen in that conversation, and then you can run that conversation many, many times and evaluate your agent's performance and response to those specific utterances, right? So in that case, the second test will have the fixed phrases. It will ask for the weather in London, and then it will ask for the weather tomorrow, okay? So now once I have that test defined, I can run it. I can run either all the tests in my test suite or a specific test. Let's run all tests, and I can choose how many times I run the whole test suite. So let's start with 1. Okay. And results of the runs are in the results tab that the system automatically switched to. And now you see that the test that we've created is currently running, right? And there's a percentage over here as it progresses. So let's wait a little bit for that conversation to actually happen and maybe the progress.
Will we also be going through the call? We'll be hearing the call itself?
No. So the tests are actually happening they are currently not using the voice channel. They're using the text channel, right? So which significantly reduces the cost of those tests, right? So we are not employing neither STT nor TTS. We're just talking to the agent essentially in the same way that the chat is talking to the agent on the text plane.
Nice.
And so it makes it like both faster and much cheaper. Okay, so the tests have completed. So let's see. The first one has completed with, there's a warning and the score is 60. So let's take a look at what happened there. So the weather in Amsterdam is sunny. That's the conversation that happened. All right, so the agent was able to provide the weather for Amsterdam, but it wasn't able to answer the question about the New York, right? Most probably, we can check that in a second. The tool that the agent is using to extract to get the weather simply didn't return any response, and that's the reason, right? But the point is that based on that conversation, the test agent decided that the score is 60, and so therefore it's warning and not passed, okay? And the second test looks like that weather tool was not really working at all, right? So the agent wasn't able to neither to achieve the weather for the current weather nor the weather for tomorrow. Therefore, the score is 0. So that test has failed. Okay, and so don't be like. We are currently using some public API that returns the weather sometimes and many times not. So it's great for the demonstration of those test call capabilities. But you can see, for example, in the past, so that example, for example, the score is 100 because the agent asked for the weather in Amsterdam and New York in a single sentence, and it got response about both cities. So in that case, the result is as expected, and the score is 100, and the status is passed. Okay, and so the point is that using the test suites, you can test your agents, and you can also repeat those tests over time, right? So when you change your prompt, you rerun your test suites, and you can check the results. Again, results can be depending either on your prompt or on some external systems, like in that case, right? There's no problem with the prompt. It's just a problem with the tool that is being used to get the weather. So you need to look into the details and try to understand what actually happened. But in most cases, roughly, the results that you get, passed, failed, warning, are pretty consistent. And therefore, you can just run your test suites and see that the score that you get is not worse than it used to be. And that way you get trust in your changes, and or you can validate that your changes are actually good, right, and not degrading the performance. Okay, now you can, if you go into the logs, AI agent logs, by default you don't see here the test calls, simply because there may be a lot of calls like that, and that will just overflow your screen. But you have a button over here that turns on the adds test logs to the screen. And so we can take a look. For example, that's the last conversation. The agent called the tool and got the timeout back from the tool. So the API that we're using to fetch the weather was not responding, and therefore the results were, the agent was not able to provide the weather. Yeah, I think that's
super cool.
Mostly it.
Super cool. I just want to ask before we take it away from here. In general, this entire AI agent platform is designed by Alex, to those who doesn't know. Alex, I want to know if you have like a couple of words in general about what's coming in the AI agents. Where do you see it going?
So there's quite a lot of activity going on. We are adding many relatively focused features based on customer needs, right? So, and a lot of that is driven from the field. We are working, we have been working quite a lot on providing support for all major speech-to-speech models. And there will be one more part that I would like to show you, and there will be a demonstration of one of those speech-to-speech models. Speech-to-speech models really make a difference in terms of the overall latency and agents performance. So we are kind of making it more mature, more stable, more feature-rich, and just keep on with the updates, into the documentation, with the release notes. You will see lots of features being added all the time.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you for the demonstration. It was very interesting. And I hope you guys are listening, because as Alex said, the features and the capabilities and the changes are going to be also provided as you ask them, as you define them, as you talk to us and tell us what you need. So pay attention. Ilan, I'm going to hand it back to you. I don't hear you. still on mute. Let's see if we can fix that.
Yeah, do you see my screen?
Yes, we see our screen now.
Okay. So I'm going to speak now about a new.
Thanks, Alex.
You spoke a little bit about what's coming. So this is something that already came, also using the AI agents. Now, this is a new option to use the AI agent for a different use case. Usually, the AI agents are used, and everything that Alex showed is that a human is speaking with a bot. In this use case, it's two humans speaking. So you can see here a customer speaking through the contact center with an agent, a live agent. And then we can add an AI agent to the call. And this AI agent can send either real-time insights to the live agent, or maybe summarize the call and send it to the supervisor. So the idea is that you will be able to receive the real-time transcripts of the call, real-time assistance to the live agent, instant call summarization, and that will lead to faster and more accurate query resolutions. So that would optimize the way the agent are answering queries from customers. That's the main idea. And you can see here the architecture, but I will turn back to Alex that will show us how you can do that with the AI agents on Live Hub.
Again, as Ilan said, the idea is that you may have AI agent sitting or kind of listening, right, on the conversation that happens between somebody else. And then it can do some cool stuff with that listening data that it receives, right? So first of all, how you do that in a practical way. So I've created an agent, right? A simple agent, AI agent in the agent screen. I wrote it some prompt. We will go into that prompt slightly later because there are two modes in which agents and assist can work. And for the simple mode, the prompt doesn't really matter. But so I have an agent that is added here. And then in the bot connection screen over here, I defined a new bot of type agent assist bot, right? So over here, and then I chose Live Hub AI agent and I selected the agent that I created. Here is the card for that agent. And you can see here the icon, which indicates that that's an assist bot, right? And not a regular bot. Now, once you do that, you can, in the routing screen, for example, that line which says everything which comes from the phone number, right, and goes into the regular bot, you can have a bot agent assist and select the bot connection of type agent assist that you've created, right? And so that thing says that whenever somebody calls that number, it will go to the regular agent, and we will talk with that agent in a second. That's nothing special. That's a regular routing from phone number to the AI agent. And then
just sorry, Alex, sorry to interrupt, but just one thing here. Usually in a real use case, that would not be an AI agent that you will speaking with. That would be a human agent. I don't want to confuse everyone. Just for the demonstration. Yeah.
Ilan is absolutely right. I just didn't have two phone numbers available for me, so I needed somebody to answer me. But yeah, for the
and just
typical
a gentle reminder, guys, to be considerate of time. We still have another demo to do.
Right. Okay. So you have some call. Typically, it would be call from phone number to the SIP trunk, or from SIP trunk to the SIP trunk, or from contact center to the SIP trunk, something like that. And then you can add an AI agent as a agent assist on that call, right? Now, once you do that, what actually happens is AI agent will be listening to that call. And in the normal way, in the default way, it will be just listening on the call and not doing anything, not saying anything, not involving LLM in any way. Now, okay, you say that's great, but why would I do that? Because you can take your AI agent of type agent assist, and you can define post-call analysis for it, right? And so I have summarize call post-call analysis defined over here. And that post-call analysis says, to create a summary of the conversation. So the idea is that during the call, agent just listens to the call, accumulates everything that was said, and then when the call ends, it uses the LLM to do something clever. And that can be summarize the call, it can be extract some variables from the call, right? So you have quite a lot of capabilities there. And then the results of those extractions can be, for example, sent through the webhook to some third-party system. In that case, I'm using the webhook sites to demonstrate that. And you can, get the summary of the call. So now let's try to make that demonstration live, and let's hope that that'll work for me that way now. So I'm calling from my phone number.
I've never seen anyone that shows a live demo and actually doing the demo. Really amazing job, Alex.
I'd love to help. Let's start with a few questions. Who's the gift for? Got any idea of their interests or hobbies? And what's your budget range?
Yeah, I'm looking for a present for my sister.
What kind of things does she like to do in her free time? Any hobbies or interests you can think of?
Yeah, she loves the music and she also plays piano.
Well, that's great. So she's into music and plays the piano. How about we look at some music-related gifts? Maybe some sheet music for her favorite songs, or a nice pair of cellular headphones for her to enjoy her tunes. Or if she's up for a challenge, we could look at some music-related experiences, like a virtual concert or a music class. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you. Okay, so that was the conversation. Yeah, I was trying to keep it in the Christmas mode. Now, if we take a look at the webhook site, right? You see that there is a webhook that was sent at the end of the conversation. So there's some data about the conversation, and then here is the summarization produced by our post-call analysis, right? So that is the short summary of our call. I intentionally asked it to keep the summary short so that you can read it in your spare time. But basically, you got the idea, right? So you can listen to the call, and at the end of the call, do some magic. Okay, so that is something that we call passive agent assist, and that's one thing. The other thing that you can also do is something which we call active agent assist. Now, in order to activate active agent assist, you go into the advanced configuration screen, and I made some preparations here just to shorten the time, but you define the agent assist field, and they will typically put webhook mode over here. And then we will go into in a second into what that thing means, but then you would define webhooks for the LLM event, and you will define where to transfer the webhook, right? So in that case, again, we'll be just sending all those webhooks to the same webhook site. Okay, now, what happens in the active agent assist mode is that the agent is not just passively listening on the call, but is actively listening for every utterance being said, and it's processing it through the LLM, through the prompt that you define, right? Now, you would typically want active agent assist not to respond to every user utterance, but to respond to some user utterances, right? And one of the ways to do that is to engineer your prompt like I have here. So that thing says, whenever someone says something about the piano, says the names of 5 most prominent piano jazz players, otherwise say no response. And I also have that no response defined over here. So whenever LLM responds with no response, no webhook will be triggered, right? No webhook will be actually sent, right? So now if we repeat the same demo, let me try that again. And you know what? Just for the sake of that, so before that, we were talking to Amazon Nova Sonic, which is a speech-to-speech model from Amazon. Let's switch to GPT Real-Time Mini, which is a speech-to-speech model from OpenAI. And let's see how that sounds.
you with today? Looking for some gift ideas or something else on your mind?
Yeah, I'm looking for a present for my sister.
A bit about her. What's she into? And do you have a budget in mind?
She likes the music and she loves to play the piano.
That's combo. Music and piano. What's your budget, roughly? Or are you just looking for general ideas?
Just the general ideas.
Got it. Well, how about these ideas? 1. A high-quality MIDI keyboard controller.
Okay, you've got the idea, right? But you see that there was a webhook sent whenever I mentioned the piano. So the response that the LLM has generated has been passed through the webhook, and you've got it over here, right? And then also there's a summary of the conversation when the conversation ends. Okay, so that's the general story about the agent assist. You can use AI agent to either create summaries of the call in the end or actively work during the call and produce meaningful insights. And eventually you would probably push them into some user interface of your live agent that is working on the call. And so you can leverage agent assist to help the live agent depending on what happens on the call.
That is incredible. I have thousands of questions. Some on the chat, some of my own. By the way, what was the model that she used in the first demo?
The first one is from Amazon. It's called Novasonic. And
I like it much better.
Yeah, it really sounds great. And what's interesting is that it's also very cheap. So it's cheaper than GPT Real-Time Mini by roughly 30-40%. So yeah, it's less fluent in languages. So I think it has support for 5 languages or something like that. But if those 5 languages are what you speak, it's a great model.
Thank you so much, Alex. I know we are sort of cutting it short on time, and we still wanted to present one other thing with translation. Ilan, if you want to show it to us. And we'll, of course, be respectful of the time. At 6 o'clock exactly, I will share the code. Once again, Alex, thank you. It was incredible.
Okay. So I will just share my screen again.
Mm-hmm.
First, let's see what's coming. Okay, so by the way, just about the AI agents as an assist bot, we can do it either if the basic call goes through Live Hub, from Live Hub to the contact center. We can also connect to external SBCs in case needed. So if you want to use that, let us know. We'll help you with this. And about a little bit about what's coming. So things that are coming soon by first quarter next year. The first one, which we see a lot of partners waiting for, are the master and sub accounts. So that will be unified billing for multiple partner accounts. That's coming soon. Anyone of our partners that already want to use that today, we have some partners that we do it for them manually. This will be an automatic way. Real-time translation with speech-to-speech APIs, I hope I will be able to demonstrate soon. Strict PII policies. We see a lot of questions around the privacy, security. So for instance, the ability to set a retention policy for the call recordings, for the call transcript, the ability to hide the phone numbers on Live Hub. So that would address all the security needs of our customers. That's also coming soon. We're always constantly adding speech providers, LLM providers. So these are things we constantly do. Now about the real-time translation. So maybe I can demonstrate now. Alex, are you still with us? Can we speak Hebrew and Russian? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Okay. So I will tell you, yeah, I just surprised a little bit, Alex, but yeah, I hope this will be fine. So I'll tell you what we'll do. I'm going to, we have real-time translation for a long time on Live Hub, and we had a lot of questions from customers related to if we are going to use the speech-to-speech APIs, that you already see how well it works, the speech-to-speech APIs. And we tried with Google Gemini native audio, and I want to show you the result. There are first, it's much more fluent, but other than this, we can also add the bot to a conference. And this is what I'm going to show you now. So let me try to add the bot here to the conference, to our Teams meeting.
While Ilan is doing that, I'm going to share the code with you guys. It's going to be on the main chat. I'm not sure we're going to have time to answer questions today, unfortunately, but we will collect them and send them by email.
Yeah, I don't see that the bot was really. Maybe we'll skip the demo. I am not sure we have enough time to do this demo. So, but it works really, really good. It's a initial phase for us doing this real-time translation option, and we're going to productize this soon, I hope, based on Gemini matureness, Gemini native audio matureness. We need to test it, and we're already doing some tests, and we hope to release it soon. Tomer, we have 4 more minutes, so if you want to choose 1 or 2 questions, maybe we'll go over that.
So yeah, there are a lot of questions. Let's start with, so first of all, thank you everyone for being here. As I mentioned, I'm sharing the code on the chat as well. If you have any questions, send them. I do have a way to collect them and answer by email. Will the test suite extend to voice streaming also, since the latency is very much different? We did want to show something about the latency and we forgot about it. Alex, maybe we can share the screen for just 1 minute and show the latency statistics of the call.
Right.
So the question is about latency is very much different for digital and voice channels. And this will be in the roadmap. Also test as accents maybe in the future. So I'm gonna share Alex's screen quickly.
Right, so we wanted to show you that thing which got added to, okay, now we need some real conversation over here, right? So that thing in the call summary, where you have a visual representation of the overall latency in the call, right? And what it's comprised of. And so you can see like average latency. That one is really bad, by the way. But it's not mine. It's something different. So yeah, maybe over here. No, okay, no. But the idea is like you see the STT, the LLM part, and the TTS over here, and so you can have quickly understand what makes what brings most into the latency.
There was one question in regards to the latency. If guys, 2 more minutes. The code was posted, by the way, live 30. Anyone who wants to use it can put it in the chat in LiveHub, which is currently on the left, but we are working on a fix for that. And about the latency, is there a way to apply it somehow through the API to receive that data?
Currently, I will answer that. This is on the work. Okay, so currently, you can see it on the web UI. We'll add that to when you can fetch CDRs on Live Hub using the REST API. Currently, they don't include the latency statistics. We are working on that. Hopefully, that will also come early next year. Next year is very soon, as we all know.
All right. There is one question about an online calculator for the pricing. We are working on an online calculator that will include all the STT, TTS, so on and so forth, and you will be able to calculate all the different aspects of LiveHub, bots, SIPs, agents, so on and so forth. It's not going to be live for at least a couple of months. But if you have a specific query, you can talk to me and I will help you with that. Ilan, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, we'll try to enhance that. That it will not be a couple of months, maybe less than that. Okay, so I think the calculator is very important. The pricing may be a little bit complex because we have a lot of components, and we always add more and more components as we add more functionalities. And this is a priority for us, and hopefully also early next year. I don't know, maybe February or something like this. I hope we'll be able to publish.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's exactly 6 o'clock, so whoever needs to go, do your holiday. Happy everything. The code is posted on the chat, live 6:30, sorry. And I'll try to respond to the questions by email. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Ilan. And thank you guys for being here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.